Today I will show you how to use the free online Pixlr software to create and edit text. I will show you how to make the text actually look like it's part of the photo. This is a great trick that is often used on magazine covers and in advertising. First, let's get a photo that has some stuff that's closer to the camera on the sides with something further away in the middle, kind of like this image here. I will go to the free photo website like Unsplash or Pexels. So I'm going to go to Pexels, Pexels.com, and I will search for words like canyon or valley or city to try and find something that works. Once you've found a photo that works for you, you can click on the free download button at the top. Make sure you download the original size to get the best quality image and hit free download. It might ask you to buy someone a pint or something. You can ignore it. It will download at the bottom of your Chrome window anyway. If you're using Firefox, it will be at the top. Once you've downloaded the image, click on the up arrow and hit show in folder, and you should see it there in your downloads. Next, go to Pixlr. So if you don't already have it, it's pixlr.com. And if you do /E, it takes you to the version of Pixlr that's most like Adobe Photoshop. It may show you previous artworks that you've done in here. It doesn't matter though. You can hit open image and find the image that you downloaded a moment ago. It should be in your downloads folder, and simply hit open. And choose the largest option here. This one says Ultra HD. It's got the biggest number here. This is the original size of the image. Hit apply, and now the image is open. Next, let's go straight ahead and get the text tool. So click on the left hand side with the T here and click anywhere in your image, and it'll say, do you want to create a new text layer? Click add. Type in a word that makes sense with the image. Now we need to choose the size of this. So if you select your text by moving your mouse over it and selecting the text, you can click up here and go to size. You can drag the size up. You want this word to be about the width of the distance between like in the canyon in here. So I can see I've got these rocks that could go over the letter E over there, and these rocks that could kind of cut off over there. So something about this size, we can change it later. Next, let's choose the color. So yours might have come out in a different color to mine. To change the color, you can click here at the top where it says color, and you can do any color you like here from the color picker. I usually choose just off-white, so it's ever so slightly darker than pure white, like this, and hit OK. Next, let's change the font. Pixlr does come with a range of fonts, some of which are quite cool, but the modern trend is to go for minimalistic, bold fonts, and I can't find too many of them in here. So if you see a font online that really floats your boat, you can use that. So to download a font from the internet and put it into Pixlr, you can go to dafont.com, or if you know the name of a font, like I do, you can search for it straight in Google, type in Futura Bold, Futura bold, and Font Geek is a good one here. Sign your life away with that, and do the I'm not a robot zip download, and your download will appear at the bottom of your browser down here. So let's click the up arrow, hit show in Finder, and when you download fonts from the internet, they come downloaded as a zip file. You can't use this directly. You have to right click on it and do extract all, and then hit extract, and then it comes up in its own folder like this. I'm going to close the other window down. Now let's go back to Pixlr and tell Pixlr to use that font. This gives you the freedom of being able to use any font in the whole world now. So if you click on your font up here where it says Arial or whatever, at the bottom there's a green button for add local font. Click on that. In your downloads folder, you should have a folder now called Futura Bold, or wherever you've downloaded, and just simply click once on Futura Bold, hit open, and it will add to the list of available fonts here. So you can click on that. So you can do quite a lot with the text in Pixlr. We're going to adjust the spacing of this word. So you can click on the word, move it to the right spot, and then click on where it says settings, and there's a little drop down arrow by the A there. You've got line space to increase the space in between lines, and the letters space here makes the letters further apart. This is a simple way of making something look or feel slightly more expensive, like when you see text on a luxury car. Just simply drag the slider here to increase the spacing, and the word looks less like a statement and more like a whisper. It's like ASMR for your eyes. Now, the word's a bit too wide to fit into this scene, so we're going to scale that back down up here with the size. And again, you're just trying to find a spot where you can kind of have the word on a darker part of the image and have it slightly covered up by certain parts. So play with the size until you're happy. So I'm going to go for something like that. The other thing you can do with the text, you don't have to, but if you go up to where it says styles at the top, you can choose to give it an outline, and you can also click on the punch out option here, where you're then able to just simply have an outline of your text like this. But I find that's slightly harder to read, so I'm going to turn that off. Great. Now that you've customized your text, you're ready to cut it out into the mountains. There's two ways of doing this. There's the easy way, and for my older students or more experienced students, there's a slightly more difficult way, but that's much more professional. So the unprofessional way, the quick and dirty way of doing this, is simply to get the eraser tool from the left-hand side. It looks like this. You can hit E for echo on the keyboard to bring up the eraser tool. Now, usually on a layer, when you get the eraser tool, it just simply rubs out to reveal the background. In this case, it will not allow us to erase the text layer because the text layer is special. It's editable. You can change this text anytime you like. So I could click on the text tool here and simply click edit and change the text to anything else. So we need to tell this to not treat it like text, but to treat it like an image. To do that, simply go to layer at the top and go to where it says rasterize text/element. So rasterize is a posh word for make normal, and I'm going to just do that. Rasterize text. Now the text is like an image, and you can get your eraser tool and you can pretty much rub it out like that. I'm going to undo that with Control Z. Now you're going to want to zoom in really close for this. So use Alt on the keyboard, ALT, and scroll to zoom in. I'm going to start off on an easier area. So let's customize our eraser tool. You can click on the brush shape up here. To keep things simple, I'm going to use a hard round brush that's about 30 pixels in size. You can also change the size by clicking on the number there and dragging the size to about 30. I'm also going to increase the softness just to about 5 or 10%. This just stops things from looking too sharp and too fake. So increase the softness to about 8%, then click away outside of the brush options there and start scribbling away at the letter here. If you make a mistake, like I've just done, you're gonna have to hit Control Z to undo. You may undo the whole thing. So I usually, when erasing like this, paint in different clicks like that. So it might be hard to guess where the mountain is here. So what you can do is right click on your layer or click on the three dots and just put the transparency down to about 30% while you do this, maybe 40%. Then you can kind of rub out and see what you're doing as you go along. And if you make a mistake like that, you can undo, Control Z, and just try and fix that. Now you want to see the other side of your text. To move your camera around the scene here, you could use this little navigation bar at the top, or if you can't see that, or if you prefer to use a space bar, hold the space bar down with your thumb and drag with your mouse and click and hold and move your mouse and let go. After you've let go of all of those buttons, you'll then be back to your eraser tool and you can rub out the mountain that's over here as well. Great, so when you think you're done, you can zoom back out and increase the opacity, which is right click or hit the three dots, and increase the transparency back up to 100%, and then you can close it with the cross. Great, so that works really well. Be careful not to change or rub out too much of your letters, otherwise people have a hard time reading it. So if for example the bottom of my E was behind the mountain, it would look like Explorf, which would be bad. So make sure that you can still see enough of your letters so that it makes sense. So by now you've learned how to add text, how to change its appearance to make it look a bit more premium, and how to embed it into an image to make it look like it's part of a photo. I'm now going to show you the more advanced way of doing this, which is where you can actually cut out the background itself and have it on a separate layer like this. This gives you the freedom of then moving your word anywhere you want. If your client or your boss or whoever is asking you to make this image says, oh, can you move that text or change the text? You will be unable to change the text at the moment. You'll have to do it all again from scratch. Whereas here, you can just simply move it and edit it anytime you like to something different. And it works. To do that, you should delete the text that you've got here. You can also try this with a different image if you like. So I'm going to delete my text layer here. To delete a layer, you can right click on the layer and hit the delete layer rubbish bin. And we're then going to duplicate our background layer. So there's two of them. So hit the three dots and where it says duplicate layer with this button here, click on that. You've now got two layers. I'm going to turn off the bottom layer for a second. So where it says visible with the tick, click on the tick and it will disappear. Now you've got the top layer on its own. So instead of using the eraser tool to rub out through the image, we're going to use something a bit smarter. So the problem with the eraser tool is that if you rub out and then you make a mistake like this and you don't notice for quite a while and you do lots of other things, you're then going to have to undo lots of times to get back to fix your mistake here. So we're going to use something called the Cutout or mask tool. So with this tool, you can use this mask brush and you can draw an area to erase. If I increase the size here, and if I make a mistake over here and I'm rubbing out some stuff over there and I realize I've made a problem, I can simply change the setting of the mask brush to add it back in. So it's like a reverse eraser. You can see here it goes from a red brush to a green brush and it's painting the mountain back in. So this is great for fixing mistakes when you've been rubbing stuff out and you've just gone too far and too greedy. So let's go and change the settings for this tool. So click on your Cutout mask tool, which is K for kilo on the keyboard. There's many ways of using the tool. So we're actually going to use the lasso mask to remove a part of this layer like this. Make sure that you have the lasso mask option there and you've chosen remove from mask. Then drag a line that's outside of the sides of the mountains in the middle of the canyon here. So do not let this red line touch the sides of the canyon. So I'm going to kind of go along here and very roughly say, right, I want to rub out around these mountains here or something like that. I'm just going to keep this very rough for now, like that. And then when you join it back up, it automatically disappears. Now don't forget, we actually already have the layer behind it where this is still there, so don't worry about that. Now we're going to need to zoom in and do the details. So that was just to quickly remove the middle of the image. We're now going to use Alt and scroll wheel to scroll in and remove some stuff. So go to your draw mask tool with the brush now. Change the size of your brush down to about 30 again, and change the softness of your brush again down to about somewhere between 5 to 10. I'm going to do 7. And you can now very carefully rub out the rest of it. So I think I wanted to kind of go along this bit of cliff here. And don't worry about these middle islands. You can remove those later on. If you want to scribble over them, you can. And if you make a mistake like I just did, it's Control Z. But I'm going to focus for now on drawing a line around the edge of this mountain like this, just so I can create a really good edge on it like that. Annoyingly, there's trees over here. Trees are the most annoying thing in the world when it comes to Photoshop and software like this. So you have to decrease the size down, and if you're fortunate enough to have one, this is where it'd be really good for you to have a Wacom drawing tablet or an iPad Pro or something like that with a pencil. You can use pressure sensitivity to remove what you don't like. So you don't have to do the whole mountain. If you have a rough area where you think you want the text to be, then just focus on that. So let's say I don't want to do any more over there. That's fine. Let's focus on this side of the mountain. Increase your brush size to 30-ish. And again, just paint over the side of the mountain over there. And if you're new to this software, this might take you a good 10 or 15 minutes to do. But you've got time. It's locked down. Good. So if you're happy and you know it, you can get your lasso mask and just drag some lasso masks around the areas that you want to remove. So there's like some islands of content here which need to go, and you can just drag like a lasso mask very roughly in sort of like these trenches of empty pixels that you've drawn earlier with the brush mode, and just kind of go through them like that. So this seems like a lot of effort, but it is the better way of working with layers in Photoshop. And if you want to remove everything else, you can just quickly go over it like this, and you're done with that. And now simply turn the background back on by clicking on the tick box, and then click on the background layer. And once you've done that, go to the text tool again, click anywhere you like, click add for add a new text layer, and then you can do all of the settings that you want to this. Change the color, change the font, increase the letter spacing. And then you're going to want to drag this text layer underneath, in between these two images here of the canyon. So get the canyon text layer, drag it beneath canyon copy, and then you can increase the size as you like and see the effect that that has. So now you are free to put this where you want and just to get the best possible version of that. And you can edit it later on, do what you want to it. Finally, to make your text stand out more, you could go to the Dodge Burn tool, which is O for Oscar on the keyboard, and choose a soft round brush that's about 250 to 500 pixels in size, and paint over any areas of the image. My strength of is set to 30, and just paint over any areas of the image that you feel could be darkened to make your text just stand out a little bit more. Make sure it doesn't look obvious that you've done it, but that looks much better. Now to save your work, it's File, Save, and go to JPEG and hit download like that. If you want to edit this file for later on, you can hit close and do File, Save, and save it as a PXD file. Give it a good name and download that one as well, which means you can reopen it later on to make changes.